Oscar Romeo 4, India Sierra Sierra, how's your lab clear? Copy you loud and clear. Oscar Romeo 4, India Sierra Sierra, has you loud and clear. Ready, over. For me, the most difficult part is being away from my family, over. So the dangerous types are the ones that get us all sick, so we try to prevent that. We haven't had anything happen so far, thank goodness, because if one person gets sick, then everybody gets sick since we're in such a small environment. Over. Well, we get tested on about everything because since our missions are usually about 6 months long, you have to be physically fit. Your heart and everything inside you has got to be checked out as well as psychological testing to make sure you can withstand an environment like this with just a few people in a very small area. Over. Well, I did want to be an astronaut ever since I was about 5 or 6 years old, because back then that's when the astronauts were landing on the moon, so that really inspired me and motivated me. But then I went to the Army, and I was an Apache helicopter pilot in the Army and didn't think the astronaut thing was going to work out, but eventually it did, so I did kind of get it through a different career. Over. Well, I very much miss my family, but we do get to do a video conference with them once a week, so it's like doing FaceTime once a week with them, and I can talk to them pretty much every day. Over. Well, we were strapped into a Russian spacecraft, and it was a great ride, nice and smooth compared to the space shuttle that I flew on previously. They were both amazing, but this one was just a lot smoother. It's a lot smaller vehicle, and it just felt great. We were accelerating super fast. It took about 9 minutes to get from the launch pad to space. Over. Well, that's a good question. We haven't really proven that yet. We did just recently have a 1-year mission where one Russian cosmonaut and one American astronaut were up here for 1 year, and that's the longest in one stay that anybody's ever been in space. Over. Well, we use satellites just like you do on Earth, actually. Our internet's not very good here, so yours is much better on Earth than it is here on the space station. But we do email information back and forth to our friends and family. Over. Really good question. We train for all this, and hopefully we never have anything that happens like that, but we do have all the equipment on board, whether it's medications or equipment to handle major medical emergencies like you mentioned. Over. Yeah, absolutely. We have all kind of medical equipment up here. And somebody on our crew is trained to be the medical officer. In our case, it's me. I'm one of the medical officers, even though I'm not a doctor. But if we had anything happen, we would have a real doctor, our flight surgeons on the ground in mission control, talking us through whatever the procedure was. Over. follow the procedures, and the scientist who created the experiments that we're doing is usually talking to us on the communication channels. But if we see something that we think needs to be changed, or maybe even changed the next time it's done to make it easier, then we can offer that up, and usually they take our suggestions. Over. Yeah, absolutely. We cannot do any experiments like you mentioned with open fire. We're in a really high oxygen environment up here, so anything with fire is very, very dangerous. So we try to stay away from things like that. Over. Great question. No, like one day we'll be working on something that maybe we know about. The next day we'll work on something that we have no idea about. So it's really a great job. We get to do all different kinds of experiments, and we also get to work on different things. One day maybe a plumber, because some of the plumbing has gone bad. Next day we're working on electrical things that may have broken, and that applies to all the maintenance tasks as well as experiments that we do. Over. Yes, in general, we go to bed about 10 o'clock at night. We're on Europe time or London time, so it's a little ahead of you guys, but we go to bed about 10 o'clock and we get up at 6 in the morning. Over. Well, we all have to speak Russian. We launch and land in a Russian spacecraft, so a lot of our training is done in Russia, so we pick up the language through that as well as through instruction. And when we're on the space station, we speak, generally when we're speaking to the Russian cosmonauts, we speak in Russian, and vice versa. When they're speaking to us, they speak in English, and that way we can help each other out with words that we may not know or we've forgotten. Over. Well, we all kind of help each other out, and so that's the good thing. So nothing that we have to do specifically, me or some other person. That we can all do everything. We're kind of trained generically so that we can all handle all the chores on board. Over. We don't feel any of the effects of weather on the space station, thank goodness, because it's a nice, comfortable environment, just like it is in your school. The temperature outside, though, if you happen to go outside, goes from about 200 when the sun's out to minus 200 when the sun goes away. And that happens every 45 minutes for us because we're going so fast. Over. Now, we go by the 24-hour clock just like you do, although kind of like I mentioned before, we're on the time it is in London. So I think 5 hours ahead of you guys is where we go. And we just kind of subtract 5 or 6 depending on who we're talking to on Earth to figure out what time it is there. Over. Great question. We have people that monitor those kind of things on the ground, and they would actually move the space station out of the way as one option. Another option, if it's too late to do that, then we would just get told as the crew to go in certain modules that are a little safer to protect us. Over. So the time zone is called Greenwich Mean Time. GMT is what we call it for short, and again, that's the time it is in London. Over. I have you loud and clear. Over.